This is Logical MGTOW Spock. I'm going to do part two to yesterday's video, which was Women Are Not Without Sin. Be that, of course, a feminist woman is not without sin. Women in general as well. And judge not, for ye will surely be judged. Of course, I should have put surely on the title, but I didn't. Anyway. The one thing I did not mention when it came to my old friend Steve Mathis's woman who came over to visit or meet him and everything and be with him. The one I mentioned on yesterday's video on Friday, the 25th, is that when it comes to women, just like us men, and we men know this, there's a particular level and percentage of a woman's demeanor that many young men, including obviously my old friend Steve Mathis, did not realize or even pay any attention. All he thought was that he had a woman with him. That was the only important thing. There's nothing wrong with that. Although logic states that if you really want to be with a person, you got to learn their general demeanor and their general, shall we say, um, ways about them and of how they would react to various different things to start with, and also various different things that they may even encounter while with you in person. Um, the one thing is that not very many men as well as women do this. Although at the same time, comes the trust factor of it, right? And that trust factor goes simply to the points to where they have no secondary negative thoughts or even suspicious thoughts that various things that they don't want to have happen will happen. But you know the one thing though, aside from that, a woman as well as a man, they can trust that we can trust one another on that aspect. And basically take a chance. Many women do, many men do. Hell, I did when it came to meeting a woman online in person. There's only one difference. The woman I met online expected to get things like she was like the queen. That things had to be handed to her at her very moment and on her very expectation, which is very sinful, by the way. The woman that my old friend Steve Mathis met on Skype through his ex-girlfriend, which was his female friend at the time. Outside of that, um, she, without question, she thought, well, he seems like a nice guy. He may want the same thing I want. Be that at the same time as that want was mainly something that was being mentally forced and manipulated to and against the very woman by her family members. Yes, I don't know her family members worth a damn. I don't really care. You don't do that to your own flesh and blood, regardless if it's your child or not. If it's your niece and or nephew, you don't do that, no matter what. If it's your cousin, you still don't do it. If it's your half sister or half brother, you still don't do it. But it was done to her. So much so that, as I mentioned, and the more I thought about it, it was like a test. Um, this one will go also out to Steve Mathis, my friend from Sacramento, California, that lived on Arden Way at Arden Gardens Apartments. And if I don't know if he's been watching this, and yet, like I said, if there's any MGTOW brothers out in New York and Florida, look for him. He had I've posted on my Facebook page, and I will post on the bottom of what I said in text before I started making videos in this particular circumstance or what have you, or topic generally, before I even made the one yesterday. Um, but she thought that she would be able to get impregnated by my friend, my old friend. This way, it would ease the tension and stress, internal stress, that is mainly, um, from within her of when is she gonna have a child with a guy after she meets the guy. In her case, it was the fact that she one, it wasn't really exactly established fully if she was going to stay with my friend Steve, my old friend Steve Mathis, at a long period of time. It was only maybe a couple of weeks from what I saw. But before the last part of the week of the first or second week, um, it seemed that she had a particular objective, just like a mission objective, a a an objective to get impregnated by my friend, my old friend, and I know I keep on saying it that way. And then and kind of take it from there, right? She hid that demeanor from him so well that he was not any of the wiser. All he focused on is that she was with him. She stayed in his place. She got romantic with him, in the sense of kissing, hugging, and holding and whatnot, right? Outside the sexual promiscuity aspect of things. Um, she was okay with hanging with him along with me, because we went to Del Taco down by where he lives, or lived at the time, anyway. And of course, we dealt with a female, you can call it a feminist little bitch of a manager at the time. Basically saying that even though we ordered the deal meal, we are not going to be circumvented for it. We're not going to. There's not going to be any change to make sure that we have the thing that we ordered. So therefore, that's bad. That's bad customer service, bad customer relations for Del Taco. But outside of that, we were sitting down, eating a little bit, eating some of it, and took the rest with us. But while sitting down, we were talking a little bit, and at the time, I'm going to tell you honestly. At the time, I was not part of MGTOW, as far as I know, anyway. And I was newly divorced, still. My choice, of course. And now that I think about it now, the more I thought about it, even to the point of yesterday, on Friday, I saw it as a test, psychologically. I didn't look at it that way then, though. And what that is simply that she wanted to have a child by my friend, my old friend again. Sorry about that. Anyway, she wanted to have a child by my old friend Steve Mathis, and the one who I considered her brother. Although I can't really say if he really truly considered me a brother or not, even though he may say he did or has or still does essentially. I don't know. Outside of talking to him on Pal Talk, that's as far as it went. Of reconnecting him with him and to talking with him. And of course, like I said, he claimed to be in New York, but I have a strong suspicion that he might be in Florida somewhere. In which basically I found out while getting to know him, that's where he's originally from, was Florida. Anyway. Anyway, this woman's demeanor was hidden from my friends so well, and not totally from me as well. And like I said on yesterday's video, before the part 2 here, of that same video, is that she had an objective. Not a sinful objective, not an evil, heinous, to do a person in type of objective. Therefore, what I saw. But of course, the end result could have easily led to that. Who's to say, right? But her main objective at the time and focal point was to have a child. It was so nailed into her, metaphorically nailed into her by her siblings, by her parents, as well as possibly aunts and uncles and such. Mostly maybe the female gender of her family members. Who's to say if it was both male as well as female in her family members, or just the females in her family members. And if you're wondering if I know the woman's name, I don't remember it. My friend, my old friend Steve Mathis might, but then again he might not because it's been a while. It was so emotionally, psychologically nailed into her. So much so, right when I brought up the fucking fact that I would fuck her to the points to where procreation would happen, to the points to where they would be able to have a child, even though it's my child as well as hers. Many women have been known to carry other women's, shall we say, eggs in the sense of procreation, because the woman in question may not be able to have children for various medical and maybe non-medical reasons, and maybe also physical and non-physical reasons. Um, but the one thing is, though, too, it was a test. The more I think about it now, the more I thought about it yesterday. Um, but there is one thing, though, too. As promiscuous as women can be at a young age, especially. I'm not, and this is usually a good large percentage of women, and we MGTOW members know this. I would have if and I said I would I've done. I know I put a question out there. Would I have done it at the time? Maybe yes, and at the other aspect of time, maybe not. Within the same variable, in the same time stamp, which was many years ago, about a year, maybe more than a year or so ago. Um, but just for happenstance and just for example, for maybe a thought, if I did, the one thing though, and I'm very smart about this, I would have her get tested first. And she said, "Well, if I get tested, you have to get tested." And I'd be like, "Well, honey, I'm already clean. I know that I'm already 100% clean, so it'd be a waste of time and money." With the fact that myself and Steve don't know if you're clean, my friend Steve doesn't know if you're clean, it would be more than sensible and respectful and logical if you did it. If you did the testing. And also it would show how much you really care for and about my friend. I would tell her that straight out. And also how much of importance it is for you to have said child or a child in general. Or children, because sometimes even if you do it with one person, usually two children versus just one come. We all know this. It can happen. Then I would easily say, if you don't, then you shouldn't be with my friend because I want my friend and who I consider my brother to be safe, even in the set in the sexual sense when it comes to him porking women, because the sexual playground is not safe anymore. In fact, I wouldn't really say it was that safe even in the 1970s either, though. But It wasn't safe then when I mentioned the idea, and now we tell her it's not safe on the same aspect. If she was really wanting to do it, she would have gotten tested without question, which would show a major emotional, psychological, positive thing to my old friend, Steve Mathis, and who I'd like to have as my friend and my brother still, but I haven't heard from him. Anyway, and it also would also make sure a positive for her and the unborn child's well-being as well, when that comes to be. That is. Do you think she'd go for it? Do you think she'd actually get tested, or do you think she'd expect it to be risk and um, and the action to be done without being tested, without her getting tested? That is. I can tell you there are those women who will, but yet there are women that won't and expect the guy to take a chance. Not only take a chance of impregnating her, but also in the disease factor. Now, that's not saying with her being tested. That's not saying automatically. Even though I know the feminist women would fucking use heinous judgment against it and say yes, it is when it's not. That's not saying that she had any diseases that women, even as well as men, don't openly say for various illogical reasons if they are about to or wanting to do something sexual with another person. But it's a safety factor. And with the fact that I was in retail way before I became an advocate, way before I went into MGTOW, I got 4 safety awards while working for Target. So there you go. I am 100% an advocate of safety as well. Um, even in the health aspect, especially. I At this point, you unless you were to see this video and say yes, I would get tested on that particular instance, or though again she might easily comment and say no, I wouldn't. The no part, ladies, tells the guy that you don't consider yourself as well as his health and safety, especially when it comes to the diseases, sexual transmitted diseases that you may even have that you don't even know about yourself. But the one thing is, there are women that do, and the women that do are the most logical on that half, not anything else when it comes to feminism. On the half of willing to be tested to see if they have any diseases or any other abnormalities that may cause them not able to have children, and also to where They're clean of every sexual disease that there is even out there, even now. Yes, women are not without sin. So our men are not without sin. Judge not, and ye will be judged. I don't judge. I don't judge as an advocate. I don't judge as an advocate investigator. I don't judge as a MGTOW member. For judging is a sin. But yet women have judged us men left and right. Even now, they're still judging us. They're still judging men and thinking that they're free of judgment, free of sin. Women, you are not without sin. You judge us men. You expect us to be doing things at your whim, at your beck and call. You are sinning. Even of that assumption and expectation. Getting back onto what I was saying now, I it is true. I didn't look at it as a test. Even along with the fact that she was so gung ho about it, about me offering to fuck her, to where my old friend Steve Mathis, and her would be able to raise and take care of a child together. At the time, I didn't look at it like a test, but the more I think about it, it was. And the sad part of it is that my old friend Steve Mathis did not ask it. Why did you say that? Were you trying to test her? What were you trying to do by even saying that? I'd understand if he asked me that. I would tell him straight up. But at the same time, though, there's a chance that he would easily mention that just to start a conversation when I'm not around, or to get back at me in some way or another. Verbally. Who's to say? Um, the one thing though, he'd be fucking it up for himself, to where she would have left a hell of a lot sooner than she did if he would have brought that up just to start a new conversation between him and her. And trust me, I do like when people are happy, but as long as they're happy for the right reasons, not for the sinful, illogical, harmful reasons. Like if a woman were to harm a man just to get what she wants and expects from the man, that's not a positive. And that's also sinful. But if a man and a woman were to get what they both want equally, and they still stay happy together, that's always a positive. By the way, the feminist movement has been going, and the Me-Too movement has been acting like little 2-year-old feminist children. Even as they say, where are all the good men? And expecting us to fall into place in their mindset in the way they expect it to happen, which will never happen. The basic fact is the other part of it is, now that I think about it, there could have been another possibility that I haven't really thought of, and that is after the fact of expecting to get tested, or the way she would feel expecting to get tested, she would have easily left the next day. That would send a definite message to Steve, showing that she didn't really consider him. She only really considered herself, which is very sinful. Even after getting or it could be another one where even after she got tested, she would leave, or even after the getting tested and after the finding out she's clean or not, and if she was clean, then the action would possibly happen in her mind, and then she would leave, even with a possible chance of having child inside of her. That would send a definite message to my old friend Steve Mathis as well. Not a very positive one either on that one. The only positive message that would send to my friend Steve, even after, if it was agreed upon the two, which it wasn't, but if it was, then if she remained in with him, even after having a child, and even after being tested, first off, of course, um, that would have sent a positive message to my old friend Steve Mathis. Not only an emotional message, but also a positive psychological message. And also, it would be a positive thing for her, too, where she doesn't seem to be so damn easy. Because I know women don't like to be felt like they're easy, or like slutty, or, or like whores, essentially. Even though they act it, and whenever they act like whores when it comes to thinking that they are um, still single, even though they're in a serious relationship or even while they're married, they, due to the no fault act in divorce proceedings, that they sleep around like little fucking skanks, whores, prostitutes, and all the while they're going against the Bible. Which basically shows also if they were married and they promised themselves in front of Heavenly Father and our Savior, if they promise themselves to the man in marriage, and yet they go out to sleep around and make bullshit excuses at the same, and even after being caught, all the while they would make the objective to where they'd be able to take us men for everything that we have and that we're worth, even in the face of the court, the divorce court proceedings, and and where our the male's prenup would be used like toilet paper, and the female's prenup would be honored like it's gold or something when it's not, or like in the Star Trek universe, as if it was gold pressed platinum. Mm, that would be in a big time way towards the woman, not the man. If the woman did that by due to the no fault act in divorce proceedings, that she would act like she's single when she's not, and just ride the cock carousel of other men outside her marriage or outside her relationship with that she has with the other men, and that she's in with the other men. That right there, ladies, is a major mortal spiritual sin of an action. You think you're justified and vindicated even after doing so? You're not. You're not going to get a pat on the back and then be sent right through the gates of heaven for that. Even after judgment, ladies. So don't think that you're vindicated and justified for doing so, because you're not. And you will never be. Just like us men in the 1980s, when men slept around on women, we weren't vindicated. We weren't justified for doing so. The men that did it weren't going to get a pat on the back and sent through the gates of heaven after judgment. The more they did it. Same thing for you women. The same thing applies for you women. Even though you may feel emotionally, psychologically justified, you're lying to yourself. If you feel emotionally, psychologically vindicated, you're lying to yourself, and you're sinning on top of that. So, ladies, realize what I'm saying to be more than realistic, logical truth, as well as logical, spiritual fact and truth. Realize and wake up and smell the fucking coffee and the fucking deodorant, as many women have said, I've heard. And realize that MGTOW members are not judging you women. We are telling the fucking fact and straight truth that you women are too afraid to admit. In fear that people will not like you and think that you're weak. And think that you're not really a human being, which basically would fall in the correct spot to it. To where you feel less of a person. Guess what? That's not our fault. That's not the man's fault. That's your doing. Your action, your negative and sinful actions, ladies, will make it to where you feel less of a person, less important to yourself and within yourself and to other people and to other men in general. The men that don't view it that way are just gonna fuck you and then leave you. That's the way the ball bounces on that, especially. Much like women go to the points of strings attached, no strings attached, that is, when it comes to a one night stand. Men do it. Women think that will try to say that men do it more than women. That's a load of shit. I've seen more women do the one night stand more than men have done nowadays. That's also another fact and truth. So you women are not going to be ever vindicated, even spiritually. You're not going to get a pat on the back from Heavenly Father or society in general. Maybe from the feminist movement, but the feminist movement and the Me-Too movement sin as well. And they're still without sin, yet they keep on sinning. Even with the mental manipulation that the feminist and Me-Too movements have been doing to you women. You just don't want to see it because you don't want to believe it's true. And yet, it is true. So, ladies, as I said in the beginning, a person's demeanor, mainly in this case, a female's demeanor, says a lot about the woman. Even something that the woman does not openly say or even admit. Her actions show the real woman. Maybe not the woman that she wants to be shown to be or portray as, but the negative and sinful actions show your demeanor no matter what. Even if you think it doesn't, it does. My friend's girlfriend at the time that I mentioned in part one and part two of this video, as well as the one I made yesterday, which is this is part two of. Her demeanor showed the real, true her, even though she will more than outrightly deny it. Logically, you cannot deny that of what you show in action, ladies. You cannot deny a damn thing. You may think that you're justified and vindicated even after doing that negative action, even harmful action against us men, and behind the man's back. You're not. You're not vindicated. You're not justified. On top of which, also, you sin. Thereby, you will be judged while you're on this planet, and when your time is upon the planet, and when you're sitting in the seat of judgment up in heaven, or up near heaven, essentially in the judgment section of the other life outside of this one. Much like we men will be judged for everything we've done that is wrong and sinful. But chances are, ladies, that the more we do right and the more you women do sinful and wrong while you think you're justified and vindicated for doing so when you're not, more than likely we men, even MGTOW members, will go to heaven through the gates of heaven even after judgment. You women that continuously think that you're vindicated and justified for doing us men in, even physically in harm, you will more than likely, after judgment, go straight in the pits of hell and damnation, laying on brimstone, with being with the flames surrounding you, while you lay on hot, heated stone known as brimstone. And I know many women will say, "No, that's not true. That won't happen to us." Bull fucking shit. Even if you claim to be spiritual when you're really not, even if you are, you cannot escape the spiritual truth, ladies. And you cannot escape the spiritual fact of what I said. And the spiritual reality and logic of what I said. If you want to keep on denying it, you will eventually find out. That's more than a guarantee, ladies. That's more than a guarantee. You will find out that I am right. The more you do the sinful actions and thinking that you're vindicated and justified for doing so, even against us men, behind our backs and everything, you'll find out. Guaranteed. Fucking guaranteed. ladies. As I said on my other video, I don't know if the woman that my friend Steve Mathis met online and came over to get to know while she came over into California to talk with him and be with him and everything. Who's to say if she's with child right now? She might not be. She might be, but struggling. That's not a man's fault. That's not my friend Steve's fault either. My old friend Steve's fault. The fault lands on her. A person's demeanor is also a woman's demeanor is also by her actions. Is shown by her actions. Much like a man's demeanor is the same thing. And we MGTOW members know this. If many of the MGTOW members don't know this, they know this now. So a woman's demeanor says a lot more than she expects about her. And a lot more than what she may think or even assume that her demeanor says about her, about the woman, separate from the gender itself. But a woman, doesn't matter who it is in the female gender, that does the sinful, negative, sinful, harmful actions, even against us men, even as they continuously judge us and think that they're vindicated and justified for doing any number of things, even against us men, even behind our backs and anything else. They're not vindicated, they're not justified in any shape or form. No matter even if they think that they are when they're really not. And they may not like it when I say that, but I can care less. There's a lot of things that we don't like that happen and that are said that are true, even about the gender. But in the case of the male gender, when it comes to the Feminist ME-TOO movement, what the Feminist ME-TOO movement say about us men, even us MGTOW men, is bullshit. But what we men have said about the feminist female and MeToo females, and females in general, is more than factual. So, the basic fact is I can say that we men as well as women are not without sin. We are not in the same boat as our Savior on that aspect of sin. You women are not on the same aspect and metaphorical boat as our Savior when it comes to being without sin, or sin in general. You may think that you are and want to imagine that you are, but you're not. For it is said in the Bible that each and every gender, both male as well as females, are imperfect beings. But in Heavenly Father's eyes, we are 100% perfect. But in the human aspect, the spiritual humanity aspect, we're all imperfect. Each gender, each of the two genders, even the genders that have two genitalia, known as trans. The terminology to that. I don't necessarily have to say it. Or I could say transgenders. But, or at least that's the way it's known right now. Anyway, all in all, ladies, what I've said here, even on the video from yesterday, and the videos even before this one and the one from yesterday, You cannot escape it. Is what I've said and what I will continue to say, even on different topics and subjects, and even with what other MGTOW members have said, and will continue on saying. You cannot escape it being true, because even if you don't want to believe it within yourself, ladies, it is said also that one that admits of their faults and doesn't do their continuous sinful shit, they are a better person. But they can only be a better person if they stay the course of not doing us men in, not doing us men harm, not even in the aspect of attempt, not going against the Bible in the aspect of sin, and all the while think that they're justified and vindicated for doing so when they're not. As long as you don't do anything sinful and harmful towards us men, or even in the attempt, even as you try to take us for everything that we have in divorce court, if you do that part, then you are sin, ladies. There's an aspect to where women can easily just divorce us, and to where we keep everything that we have and have ever owned, even both with and before we meet up with you women, and before we have any involvement with you women. And you can still better yourself while staying employed, doing things to make money for yourself without taking anything from us. That part right there, you would not sin. But the part of doing us wrong, trying to do us harm, cheating on us, committing adultery, those are sinful. Thinking you're vindicated emotionally and mentally and what have you, that's also added into the sin. Whether you want to believe it or not, ladies, it's the damn truth. Now, MGTOW members, I will put what I mentioned about my old friend. If you are in Florida and or New York or wherever the hell else, and you know and you ask them the questions that are in the thing, and that I will have in the description. At this point, I probably while you're watching this video, you probably will see it in the description, which means I already put it in there. Anyway, you can mention Logical MGTOW Spock and show him the video. He'd know who I am by that point. Guaranteed. Now, what is your thought, MGTOW brothers and non-MGTOW brothers, major blue-pilled simps and manginas and purple-pilled manginas and pussywood men? What's your thought on what I've said? Okay, let's put it in this way. Would you have had the woman, and I have an idea of the answer for some men, maybe not all. Would you have gone forth with doing the woman, even if your friend didn't think it was a good idea, even with the idea that I brought up in accordance to yesterday's video that's quoted, women are not without sin, that's titled Women Are Not Without Sin, Judge Not, for ye will be judged, in which was Friday's video. But this is just part 2 to it. and I will put that video in the description as well. The link to the video in the description as well, and I will put this link's video in its description. The basic fact is, what I say is an actuality, though, first off. But I know a number of men will say, yeah, I'd fuck her, even if he didn't think it was a good idea. There are many other men that would say, no, I would respect him and not do it, just like I respected him and I didn't do it. I didn't fuck her, essentially. I didn't fuck his woman, essentially, just so she can get what she wanted and what she was mentally manipulated with and about and on. Even if it went to the point to where he did agree, there's a good chance I might not have done it. But even if he did agree to it, and even after the fact that if she were to find out that she's clean, only time will tell on that one, but more than likely it would be more of a test. Even if it wasn't foreseen then, as of now, it would be a test, which basically would show her true demeanor to my old friend Steve Mathis. And even after this video and the other video that I made on Friday, which was yesterday to this point, it will be foreseen when and if he has or has not dated as much, if at all, any other women, even if he is in New York, even if he isn't, and if he is in Florida. The basic fact is, a woman's demeanor, just like a man's demeanor, says it all. Their true objective and meaning of being around the opposite gender. You know, the other part of it is that she could have easily gone and asked, where do I live? Go and then go where they go to hang out with me, over where I used to live at the time. And then while he would be out, she'd want me to do her. But again, would I? There's a good chance I wouldn't. But then again, even after her being tested, there's a good chance I might have. But who's to say if that were to happen? Who's to say what would have happened in between all that? And I'm not saying if Steve Mathis is watching this, my old friend Steve Mathis is watching this, I'm not saying I wouldn't. And I'm not saying I would either. But with the fact that I am a respectful person to my friends, with the fact that he didn't want me to, I didn't. I wouldn't. But there are aspects to where women are very, very, very sneaky. And they know they are. They won't admit it, but they know they are. Into where they talk their man's friend into doing them. When their man's friend is only around them and their man is out getting lunch or something. That's a general, more than a definite action and more than a possibility that women have done and are still doing even now. But yet I know women, even in the feminist movement and the feminist movement followers, will not admit. We MGTOW members know this. You blue-pilled simps better get to realize the truth of what I say. You manginas, pussy-whipped fuck-brain men need to realize the damn truth. And when I say fuck-brain, I mean you're fucked in the head by being pussy-whipped. Thinking, and which basically shows that you're emotionally, psychologically weak. No judgment. But that's the way it would stand to even your fellow male friends. And they won't always tell you straight out, but they'll joke about you, even behind your back at times. Believe me, I've seen it. It hasn't been done to me, but I know I've seen it. The basic fact is, ladies, what I've said on the video before this one, of course, this is part 2 of it. And what I've said and what every other MGTOW members have said, even about you women, I know we already know that you won't fully admit it because you think you're without sin. You think you're still vindicated and justified as you do us men wrong, even as you try to do us harm when you're not. You're never going to be without sin, ladies. You need to learn to accept that and to wake up to reality when it comes, especially that. And and your demeanor says a lot about you than you will ever want it to say about you. Much like the same thing for us men, though, as I said. So, what is your thoughts, man? Kabuki Wookie, I know we talk a lot, which is cool. And yes, women have a different way of defending themselves, not always 100% defend in defending themselves, because after all, men are stronger than women. And I'm not saying there are women out there, even nowadays, that are stronger than some men. I'm not going to deny that. But nonetheless, women will always go to the man in defending them to where the man gets harmed over them. Or the man gets done in some way or another over the woman, especially when it comes to financial and legal aspects. There's been a number of times that women will want the man to admit his wrongdoing and saying it was him, and it wasn't really her that did the illegal shit. Even though it was her that did the illegal shit, but yet she wants to be set scot-free. Innocent. Again, without sin. That she can do no wrong when she has done wrong. Women have a complexity within them that they don't want to admit that they as well do wrong. Even to and against us men. Even their demeanor of their actions. And even if they don't just outrightly say it, which is more often than not that they don't outrightly say it. So, all in all, women, you have sinned ever since the 1990s when you women think that you're entitled when you're not. Because the base of entitlement is only when it comes to spirituality for both males as well as females. There's no actual entitlement beyond that point, or even before that point. You think you are vindicated after divorcing us and doing us in financially and ethically and what have you else. When you're not, you sin, ladies. You automatically sin. So, ladies, the whole aspect of it is that you women are in the wrong. We MGTOW members and regular men and even blue-pilled men are not in the wrong. So learn to do better, women, or you will be single with cats and birds and dogs all around. No actual male companionship whatsoever. The more you do the negative and sinful. And while you think you're still vindicated and without sin, when really you're not without sin. And you will never be truly vindicated, ladies, and you will never be truly justified for the negative actions that you do to and against us men and behind the man's back. Even as you try to judge us and try to dumb us down, you're not without sin, and you're not vindicated, and you're not justified for doing so. This is Logical MGTOW Spock. Men, as well as new MGTOW men, as well as the current MGTOW men, as well as the men that are not yet MGTOW. Stay strong, stay safe, stay self-assured, self-confident. Have faith and belief in yourself. Do not do yourself in. Do not end your life because of the fucking feminist female. Do not give in to the feminist female. And do not give in to the Me-Too female. And by the way, I'm still willing to talk to Chloe Sunderland. But yet, she also thinks that she's without sin when she's not without sin. Her video that I mentioned many times, she's sinned and been judged for, and she's still continuously being judged for continuing to carry that on in after what she voiced, which is there's no way a woman can teach men the proper way. Because if you try to do that, ladies, you are showing no respect, no decency, no anything positive towards and for and also a beneficial emotional benefit towards and for the man. And you're not proving anything to and for the female gender either. All you're doing is showing how judgmental and illogical and sinful the female gender is more so than the man and the male gender. But I will still be willing to be talking to Chloe Sunderland, and if she has been shown my videos when it comes to her video, so be it. I will not change a thing I said. Because everything I said, even about her, regardless of how many women want to defend her by saying that she's not doing anything wrong, she's trying to help when she's not trying to help in any way, shape, or form, and for any reason or anything for that matter, wake up, ladies. This is Logical MGTOW Spock. Like I said, many men that are not yet MGTOW and not MGTOW at all, and the many men that are still blue-pilled simps, pussy-whipped men, and also purple-pilled men. Please stay strong, stay self-assured, self-confident, have faith and belief in yourself, love within yourself as well, and for yourself as well. And also, do not give in to the feminist female and their actions and negative actions and vocalizations and judgments. and assumptions. Don't do yourself in because of their illogical shit as well. Stay strong, man. Stay true to yourself, even spiritually. And you don't have to be a churchgoer or a spiritual person in general. Just stay true to yourself, for yourself, and stay self-confident, self-assured, and in your own way, you can be MGTOW as well. Stay MGTOW, stay single. MGTOW for life.